Your body is not betraying you, it is reporting. Every symptom, every ache, every chronic condition is a downstream echo of an upstream decision, a choice made in consciousness, sustained through emotion, and finally dense enough to appear as matter. The medical model teaches you to treat the echo, suppress the pain, excise the tumor, or manage the syndrome. But the echo does not originate in flesh. It originates in the invisible architecture of thought and feeling that precedes physical form by weeks, months, or even years. And until you address that architecture, the echo will return, perhaps in a different location, perhaps under a different name, but always carrying the same message. Something upstream remains unresolved. The crisis is this. You have been taught to see your body as a machine requiring external repair when it malfunctions. You have been conditioned to surrender authority to systems, diagnoses, interventions, anything but the one force capable of dissolving the condition at its root. That force is not exotic, it is not reserved for saints or shamans. It is the same consciousness watching this, the same awareness that chose every thought you fed attention today, the same presence that has been shaping your biology cell by cell through the quality of your inner life. You are not a victim of a malfunctioning machine. You are the architect of a body built from the materials you provided. Your beliefs about yourself, your habitual emotional states, your suppressed truths, your rehearsed fears. This video maps the mechanism by which consciousness becomes biology and provides the reversal. Rudolf Steiner's spiritual science insists that the physical body is the final and densest layer of a multi-tiered system. Above it sits the etheric body, the template of life force, the astral body, the seat of emotion and desire, and the ego organization, the individualized I. Disease in Steiner's model occurs when these layers fall out of alignment, when the astral body's emotional turbulence overwhelms the etheric body's capacity to maintain form, or when the ego withdraws its organizing presence due to existential despair or chronic disconnection from purpose. Physical symptoms are not primary. They are the material signature of disharmony in the invisible layers. Healing, therefore, requires working with those layers directly through meditation, conscious breathing, artistic engagement, and moral self-development, not merely treating the physical end result. Stylianos Ateshlis, known as Daskalos, was a Cypriot Christian mystic and healer who could clairvoyantly observe the etheric body and spent 70 years mapping how consciousness structures physical form. He taught that the body is woven from etheric vitality, the same energy that sustains all living systems, and that this vitality responds directly to mental emotional input. Chronic fear constricts the etheric flow to specific organs. Resentment stagnates energy in relational centers. Self-denial depletes the root vitality, manifesting as exhaustion or immune collapse. Daskalos could see these blockages clairvoyantly as dark, dense formations in the etheric body, and his healing work involved dissolving them through focused intention and prayer. But he was clear. The healer's intervention is temporary unless the patient shifts the thought-emotion pattern that created the blockage. Otherwise, the symptom returns because the upstream cause remains active. Joe Dispenza's research bridges this understanding, applying neurophysiology. His work demonstrates that sustained emotional states rewire neural architecture and alter gene expression. Chronic stress signals the body to produce inflammatory proteins and suppress immune function. Not as metaphor, but as measurable biochemical consequence. Conversely, sustained coherent emotions, gratitude, love, peace, etc., signal the body to upregulate healing genes and downregulate disease pathways. The subconscious mind, Dispenza shows, does not distinguish between actual experience and vividly imagined experience. It responds to the dominant emotional state, rewriting biology accordingly. The body is not fixed hardware. It is fluid software, constantly recompiling itself based on the code consciousness provides. All of them converge on a single operational truth. The body is not the origin. It is the crystallization. The body does not generate consciousness. Consciousness generates the body. This is not philosophy. It is observable through the simplest of tests. When consciousness withdraws, the body ceases all function despite the organs remaining intact for minutes or hours afterward. The animating force is not biochemical. Biochemistry is the downstream effect of an organizing intelligence that precedes and sustains it. This intelligence, call it consciousness, spirit, the I presence, uses thought and emotion as its primary tools. Thought provides direction, emotion provides intensity, and together they shape the etheric template, which in turn shapes the physical form. Every sustained mental emotional pattern impresses itself into the etheric body like a groove cut into wax. Repeat the pattern long enough and the groove deepens into a channel. The etheric body begins to hold that shape even when you are not consciously thinking or feeling it. It becomes structural. At this point, the pattern begins influencing the physical body, not instantly, but progressively, as cells replicate, according to the template they are reading. A woman who spends years believing, "I am not enough," is not merely thinking negative thoughts. She is instructing her etheric body to contract, to withhold vitality, to signal insufficiency at the cellular level. Over time, this manifests chronic fatigue, immune suppression, hormonal imbalance, and so on. The body is not betraying her. It is obeying her. The body does not speak in medical terminology. It speaks in metaphor. A rigid spine reflects rigid thinking. A congested chest reflects grief that was never exhaled. Digestive chaos reflects situations you cannot metabolize, like jobs or truths you refuse to assimilate or release. The symptom is not random. It is precise. Daskalos taught that every organ corresponds to a specific psycho-spiritual function, and when that function is chronically blocked at the conscious level, the body mirrors it at the physical level. For example, the heart does not fail arbitrarily. It fails when love has been chronically withheld, given away without reciprocity, or closed off due to unhealed betrayal. This is not blame. It is communication. The body is trying to get your attention through the only language left after you ignored the whispers, sensations, emotions, intuitive pulls. You dismiss the feeling of dread before the meeting. You override the exhaustion with caffeine. You silence the inner no with obligation. The body watches and waits, and when the conscious mind does not listen, the body escalates. It creates a symptom loud enough to force a pause, a pain severe enough to halt the pattern, an illness dramatic enough to demand re-evaluation. The symptom is not punishment. It is an intervention from the part of you that still knows the truth. Once the symptom appears, most people collapse into it. They identify as the symptom. I am sick. This misidentification completes the loop. The belief, I am sick, generates emotions like fear, helplessness, or resignation, and those emotions deepen the etheric blockage. The blockage reinforces the symptom, and the symptom confirms the belief. The cycle hardens, and the person becomes dependent on external intervention, not because external intervention is wrong, but because it is treating the echo while the voice upstream continues broadcasting the same signal. The trap is subtle. The body's feedback can feel so urgent, so overwhelming, that it seems to prove its own primacy. How can this not be physical? I feel it. But intensity does not equal origin. The pain is real. The biochemistry is real. But both are downstream of the consciousness that shaped the etheric template, that instructed the cells that produced the condition. Healing the symptom without addressing the upstream pattern is temporary relief, not resolution. Every symptom is a messenger. It arrives carrying information about where your inner life has fallen out of alignment, where you have been lying to yourself, silencing yourself, betraying yourself, or believing something about yourself that is not true. The moment you stop treating the symptom as an enemy and begin interrogating it as a communication, the relationship changes. You are no longer at war with your body. You are in conversation with it. This does not mean dismissing medical intervention. It means recognizing that medical intervention addresses the physical layer, which is necessary and valid, but incomplete. The full resolution requires addressing the layer where the condition originated, consciousness. And consciousness is your domain. Not the doctor's, not the diagnosis's, yours. The power here is absolute and terrifying because no external force can override your sustained inner state. The body will always reflect what you are holding in consciousness. This means you can no longer hide behind victimhood. You are not a passive sufferer of random misfortune. You are an active participant in your biology, whether you know it or not. The moment you see this, everything changes. Responsibility stops feeling like burden and starts feeling like sovereignty. This is not a protocol with steps. It is a lens, a way of interrogating symptoms to reveal their psycho-spiritual origin and then dissolving them at the source. When a symptom arises, pain, fatigue, tension, illness, stop treating it as mechanical failure and ask, when did this begin? What was happening in your life at that time? What was I suppressing? What emotion, truth, or desire was I refusing to acknowledge? What am I avoiding by being sick? What responsibility, confrontation, or change does this symptom allow me to escape? What would this symptom say if it could speak? Most symptoms dissolve clarity under interrogation. A chronic headache reveals itself as suppressed rage toward a partner. Digestive issues point to a job you cannot stomach but refuse to leave. Fatigue unmasks as grief over a life unlived, the self you abandoned to please others. Sit in silence, close your eyes, scan your body for areas of tension, pain, or numbness. When you locate one, bring your full awareness there, not to fix it, but to feel it completely. Breathe into it. Imagine the breath dissolving the density like warm water melting ice. Do not force. Simply hold gentle, sustained attention. Daskalos taught that conscious attention alone begins dissolving etheric blockages. You are not doing anything. You are being present with what has been ignored. Over days or weeks of this practice, the blockage begins to soften and the symptom loses intensity. Not because you fought it, but because you stopped feeding the upstream pattern that sustained it. Every individual who reclaims sovereignty over their inner life, who dissolves their own blockages and heals their own patterns, shifts the morphogenetic field slightly. They make it easier for the next person. Healing is never only personal. It is a contribution to the collective capacity for wholeness. The continuity of the soul across lifetimes depends on this work. Unresolved emotional mental patterns do not dissolve at death. They carry forward, written into the etheric body that persists beyond physical dissolution. You reincarnate not with a blank slate, but with the architecture you built. The chronic illness you develop at 40 may be the culmination of a pattern you've been running for 3 lifetimes. The only escape is conscious resolution, here, now, in this body. Stop asking your body to be something other than what it is, a faithful mirror of your inner life. It has never lied to you. It has only reported what you have been broadcasting, the fears you rehearsed, the truths you suppressed, the selves you abandoned. Listen to it now. Not with fear, not with shame, but with the curiosity of a scientist and the compassion of a parent. Listen what it is trying to tell you. Feel where the blockages live. Speak the truths you have been withholding. Release the emotions you have been storing, and then, gently, patiently, redirect your consciousness toward the life you actually want, the self you actually are, beneath the accumulation of old patterns and inherited beliefs. The body will follow, not instantly, not magically, but inevitably, because it has no choice. It is made of you. And when you change, it changes. That is not a miracle. That is the true power that lives within you.